The third book.
Yeah, the third book.
Third book, yes.
So the third book is called Caring Conversations. And it comes out of the journey that Nancy and I have been on, dealing with my cancer stuff. And so,
And your wife and you have been on this journey for how many years?
since May of 2016. So what's that? 7 years? Yeah, 7
And
years.
initially, the diagnosis or prognosis was for how long?
2 years. Yeah. Yeah. So we're doing good, right?
Wow.
We're doing good, right?
Wow!
Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah, we're doing
That
good.
is awesome. And so you have this book.
Yeah.
And in this book, what's the purpose of the book?
The purpose of the book is to help people think through how to navigate life's disruptions. So like our disruption was a diagnosis, but disruptions come in all shapes and sizes, all kinds of forms. And being prepared for them is a good thing. And we can be better prepared for them than many of us are. And so Nancy and I started to keep track of all the conversations that we were having because we were unprepared. We had some things in place, but we didn't have everything in place. And we started to keep track of all the things, all the conversations that we were having. And we kind of guide people through, like, look, these are the caring conversations that you really need to have as a family, that you need to have with yourself, you know, if you're single, to be able to navigate a disruption. These are the things that need to be in place and be in order. And then we invited those people who kind of helped us navigate our disruption to help us write the book. So invited our lawyer, our financial planner, my friend who's a funeral home director, somebody who's connected with hospice, a couple people who are really good with grief kind of things. I invited my daughter to write a chapter, so she wrote a chapter. And so what we do is we kind of provide an introduction, share a little bit of our story and why we think this is important. And then the other person will write from their perspective. So for example, my lawyer writes about, look, pre-disruption, these are the things that you ought to have in order. These are the legal documents that you ought to have in order, or need to get in order if you don't have them in order before your disruption, that are just going to help you navigate life easier. And then at the end of close of every chapter, we have a bunch of questions. And because my answers to these questions aren't going to be helpful to you, you know, your answers to those questions are not going to be helpful to anybody because they're your answers. But what we can do is provide the questions and just lay them out there, and then people can work their way through the book and answer the questions.
Who are the people who contributed? An attorney?
I got an
funeral director.
Attorney, funeral director. I got my real estate agent to help, and so that's an amazing chapter.
Yeah.
I asked her, it's like, if somebody comes to you and you want the perfect client, you know, that's going to know everything that they're supposed to know about their home and about their house, what would it be? And so the questions in there are just, they're amazing.
Wow.
So it's just everything that you should know about your home and about your house. Somebody who has worked with hospice, they've been a community nurse and are very familiar with hospice. My daughter, a pastor friend of mine who is just amazing at walking with people through seasons of grief, so that you know, if you're walking with somebody through grief, she's got great questions, great insight, and then some great questions about how to walk alongside somebody through seasons of grief.
You just clarified for me who ought to be able to hand somebody a copy of that book. If I'm an attorney and I specialize in family estates, I should be able to hand that book to somebody. If I'm a funeral director, I should be able to hand that book to somebody. I should be able to, if I'm a financial planner, here's
Yeah.
Here's a book that mentions all of this.
All of it, covers it all. Yeah, there's a chapter in there,
Wow.
there's a chapter in there about technology, right, that we write about technology, because it's one of the areas that kind of surprised me, was, because there's so many apps that we use, like, and we're surprised by it. We kind of take them for granted. How many apps, think about how many apps you use, how many computer programs you use that have unique login and passwords, right? And they're just all there. And we just assume, or maybe we don't even think about it, that somebody else is going to get access to that should something happen to us. And some of them might, but there's a whole group of them that will never give access to anybody else but you. Some of these companies that protect your data, like I use Evernote, and I thought I was doing this great thing for Nancy, and I have all my stuff, just all the passwords, everything, contractors, house information, everything is stored in Evernote. So I thought, well, okay, I need to set up some legacy things so that I can give access to Nancy. And Evernote will never, ever, even after I'm gone, give anybody access to my Evernote, because they are 100% committed to protecting my data. So the only way that I can ensure that she will have access to it is to make sure that she has my login and my password. And then if I ever change my password, I've got to make sure that she gets the updated password. And for those of us who change passwords every 3 days because we forget it, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So how are you going? So we talked through all that.
What's the name of that book?
Caring Conversations is the name of the book.
You have really thought out well in advance what people need to know.
We have lived it. We haven't thought it. We've lived it, and as we've walked through it, we've just kind of said, oh, hey, here's a chapter, and written this down and said, hey, here's a chapter. We've given people a place to get started, and the truth is, they're going to have better questions than we do. Like you're going to read it, and somebody's going to say, well, why didn't they cover this, or why didn't they talk about this? We've given people a place to get started.